Hi, this is Sam from ENVIROCAST. What I've got here is just two examples of floor plans. We've got an 80 by 50, kind of what you'd see in a typical basement. Um, we would have just 80 on one side, 80 on the back, 80 or 50 on each of the two sides. So that would make a total of 260 linear feet. A price point on that would probably be in the 235s, 230, something like that on a linear foot. If you go over here, we have similar a plan here, and I'm going to put some hash lines that would make that same same line right here for that 50 by 80. So that shows you that that's a 50 by 80 base, but we've got one in the back. We'll call the top the back. We've got one outset there. It's a 10 foot out on each side, in addition to the 50. So that now becomes 60 along the one wall here. And then you have a bump out, this two bump outs, 2.5 feet each for a total of 5 foot. So you have an inset for your porch of 5 on each side, and then you got the 5 on each bump out, 5 over here. So really what you're going to end up with is your 260 as base, plus all the bump outs and insets, adding an additional 70 feet or greater than 25% of your wall cost. Or an addition of an additional 25%. So it goes to 330. But the way walls are figured, we can see inside corners here. They will extend 10.5 inches in, so they have to be counted as additional footage. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have an additional 10.5 inches times 10. So that leaves up with 105 inches. So we're going to round that up, and it's going to be at 9 feet added to your walls for those inside corners. So now you went from 260 to 339, which is a great deal bigger. That's almost 80 feet addition. So that is a great big large expense when you talk about having it cut up like this as opposed to this. Now if you do the square footage, they'll come out really similar. It'll depend on how wide these are, these porch insets, how wide they are, but you may end up with roughly the same or possibly a little less. Or you could end up with, all right, I had a phone call in between there. I had to take a little break and take care of that call. But you see here, we've got the one plan. We've got the same base plan, but with 2 bump outs on the front, 1 inset on the front, 1 inset on the back, 1 bump out on the back. But we've added almost 80 feet in those bump outs and insets. So this is, we're going to throw a number out there at you. This may cost you, hold on, let me do my math. So as we're looking at this board, where do we go here? We lost it, hold on. All right, bumped my filter, made everything white out on this. But if we're looking at this one here, which is an 80 by 50, got us 260 square. We times that by a base of around 235 per linear foot. That's going to end up costing about $61,100. If we do this same thing, which is based off of the same 50 by 80, but with bump outs and insets, we end up at about 330 square feet at 230. That's a 79.6, which is a difference of about 20%. So you see that the cost there is far greater when you're talking about 80,000 as opposed to 60. You're looking at almost 25% increase for those bump outs, and you're roughly getting the same amount of square footage. So this way it behooves you to make your plan as simple as possible. If you're on a budget, if you're not on a budget, you can go to extravagant as you want. But this is for those people who are trying to cut costs, and this is going to resell. When they look at these and they see that the square footage is about the same, there's not going to be an advantage over this one in sales over this one, especially when you're talking about a basement. And you can always come back and you can do something on this plan here to where you pour a footer and you put a couple course of block out and do that in block. And you come up here and do the same thing. You can do that in CMU block and only do it about 3 or 4 courses high on a footing and save you some money that way. So you have the basement there, and then you just have your CMU doing your bump outs, and you retain your square footage, and you actually grow it. But anytime you inset towards the house, you're losing while paying more. On these bump outs, if you can justify the square footage for the additional cost, they're great. But you can often save money if you don't need that in basement, doing that in block as opposed to doing it in precast walls. So if you're wanting a precast basement, and this is a whole goal, is to get a nice, cozy, dry basement, then you want to use a precast system such as ENVIROCAST. You don't want to use block, because block will not slow the moisture from coming in. Even if you waterproof it over time, that waterproofing is going to fail. As we do live here in East Tennessee in a seismic zone, there's going to be several small tremors a year that you possibly will not feel, but your house will nonetheless feel, and it can cause your cracks in your wall. Many of us can attest to seeing those stair step cracks that just fall as a mortar joint up and over, and walking itself like a stairway up a course of blocks. And that's happened from time of lateral pressure and these small tremors and things that go on in our environment here that has caused that to happen. Well, every one of those cracks goes through to the outside, and the waterproofing on the outside no longer is viable as keeping water out, because it'll come in right through the crack. So precast, the joint compound that is used between the panels, it maintains its elasticity to a great extent while still being waterproof and having strength. So the panels can absorb some of that shock from small earthquakes, and also have a watertight seal with that gasket type caulk that we do use. So this is my video, kind of rudimentary, but I hope it explains a lot. Have a blessed day.